YMCA.
This broadcast is live.
Live from the YMCA.
All right. So
It's
private
fun to
chat.
stay at the YMCA.
How's my audio? Does it sound? I feel like I'm choppy.
Choppy? Yeah.
Am I choppy?
I think it
Where is
sounds okay.
I'm trying this new thing. It's called cheater glasses. My wife's like, "You need cheaters." I'm like, "No, I will not comply."
You look smarter.
I do.
It's just a look.
I tell you, I've looked pretty smart since I was a kid because I've always had glasses on.
I have always. And the negative is that I got a light right over there, and
Mhm.
right over there.
Welcome to
So
my
it's-
world.
It's reflecting. Yeah. I mean, I got
So
to work on lighting.
I started wearing contacts when I was a teenager.
Oh.
And the only time I wear glasses are probably twice a year when I don't want to put my contacts in, but I don't want to leave the house either.
Well, I want to get the LASIK. I've always wanted to, and I've just been kind of sheepish, although my wife did it, and it was life-changing. But I think what would happen is the day I get the LASIK, I'm going to go out and pick a fight with someone because my whole life it's been, don't break my glasses.
Yeah.
So it's like anytime there's no, don't break my glasses.
So that's what's
But
going to get you in a
sometimes it's
fight,
like, man, it
not
would be
having
kinda
glasses.
Cool to just get into a fight and not have to worry about breaking your glasses. But
Oh my
I'm
God.
older now, and I'm concerned about breaking my leg or hip or something. So
Right. The glasses are replaceable.
That's
Yeah.
funny. That is funny.
All right. So Pete was here. Pete from G-Webs gave us a thumbs up.
Where
I
is
don't know if
he?
you guys. I think he's gone now, but it said we had
Comments.
one viewer, and he is over in the comments. So should we maybe explain what we're trying to do here?
Let's do this.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Not everybody at once, right?
No.
So the concept is to take the Meet the Pressers platform and the Riding Shotgun Charlie platform and pick guests that we've had on in the past and basically interview them in a live setting where our listeners and viewers can actually interact, ask questions, etc. It's going to be a little different than the original interview because typically, at least with our show, and Charlie, I'm assuming it's the same with yours. I've watched quite a few, but not all. I'm assuming the first time you bring a guest on, it's kind of getting to know the guest, know about them, what they do, where they came from, and then maybe the next time you have them on, you've already introduced them. So maybe the next time is kind of like talking about what's new and upcoming. Do they have a new book? What's new? What's the hot topic, if you will?
Exactly. Yeah. So my attitude is the first episode is to introduce the passengers in the show and talk about what it is that they do, and go from there. See what they've been up to. Yeah, absolutely.
So we've always had kind of a loose format on our normal podcast,
right?
And it's been very centered around that guest, and as you said, what they're up to, what they're doing. So this is going to be a new format for us then.
It is,
yeah,
and
it's a little bit different.
Yeah, and I thought bringing
that goofy kid down the street. He's different. It's different.
I didn't mean it in a derogatory way.
Not at all. So we can, with StreamYard, we can stream it on multiple platforms. Right now, we're doing it on 3. So we're doing it on the PSN, my training company's Facebook page, and we're also doing it on both of our YouTube channels. And we may, how well this goes, we may open it up to a lot of other avenues. And obviously, we're picking it based on where we have the most amount of viewers. So with 6,000 some odd subscribers on my PSNet Facebook page, we figured that'd be the good one to help draw some of those students and followers of mine into both of our YouTube channels. And then obviously,
we should put it on the Trigger Presser page as well.
We can do that.
Had I known about this more than like 20 minutes ago, I was on the range teaching all day, man. So
it transpired from
Matt
yesterday.
Sent me a text, and I'm like, "Yeah, I'm headed back to the hotel. Sure, man. Let me get my earbuds to work."
This is a day old. This whole plan, one day old. Hey, let's do this. Okay, let's do it.
That's okay. Some of the best ideas ever just kind of happened. Yeah,
this is true.
So Okay. So, all right. So that's something new that I got to figure out here. So I sent "Hey there, Pete," and it came through from my Facebook PSN Ed page, and then Charlie,
And then
you
from
did it.
writing, no,
You
I
s-
didn't.
oh, you didn't? Oh, and it said
You
for Meet the Pressers too. So okay. Oh,
everybody says, "Hey, Pete."
oh, wow. All destiny.
So part of what we're doing tonight is trial and error, and probably
Learning.
mostly error, but some trial. And so I don't know about you guys. I'm relatively new to using StreamYard. Like I don't know, 4 or 5 minutes into using StreamYard here.
I figured it
I've
out.
been on some shows on StreamYard, and on the top left we can see how many people are viewing from each of our pages.
Oh,
I don't know if you noticed that.
I'm noticing that. Okay. So but it just says live and then Facebook. Oh, okay. Yeah. You put your mouse over the eye thing. Okay. Nice. All right. So one from PSN Ed, 2, 3. Oh, three. Right. Charlie, man.
Ooh, ooh.
They're riding Charlie hard. Wait.
Bump,
that-
bump,
Hey
bump, bump,
now.
bump.
See,
Hey
this
now.
is another thing
Hey
that
now.
this is another thing that I think that's going to add another dynamic, Clint, is that
Yeah.
we're just being ourselves like we are in our classes, like we are with each other over dinner and hanging out. So this is going to be kind of like that, just chilling, hanging out, saying stuff, jokes, let it fly. People get to
Right.
know us a little bit better because with the interview show, we don't go off on tangents like this. We basically just stick to the interview with the guest.
Well, we do, but I cut them out so that we can have a half-hour show.
Yeah, well, that. But we don't have guests, sending us messages, asking questions and stuff. So I think this is going to definitely add multiple different layers to the dynamic.
So what are we on right now? I'll send Pincus a thing that we're on, and he can send us a message.
So it's on the PSNED Facebook page, and it's also on our Meet the Pressers YouTube page and Riding Shotgun with Charlie's YouTube page. So tell him to go to Meet the Pressers YouTube page because right now Charlie's beating us with the number
That's
of
right.
viewers. Oh, it went down. Charlie, you're down to one.
Oh.
We're up to one. We're even now. We're tied, and 2 with PSNED.
This is ridiculous. We're gonna do something about this.
Hey, there's Dave. So I figured it out, Charlie. All you got to do at the bottom is you pick the icon and you choose which one you want to send it from.
Yes, I saw that.
Yeah, mine was set to all destinations, so I sent that message to everybody from everybody.
Gotcha.
I'm going to send Dave a message. Hey, Dave. So
Dave.
If people don't know Dave, Dave is the one that posts, and it's funny because I'll go to classes and people are like, oh, hey, I saw that post you made on your Facebook page, and that, and they're asking me questions about it. I'm like, yeah, okay. And then on the break, I'll be like, what the heck did Dave post? Because Dave is the one that actually posts the stuff on our Facebook page for PSN Ed. He finds stories and puts them up there, and also Rob O'Neill posts all of the officer down. So if anybody notices officer down on the PSN page, that's Rob O'Neill. So those are 2
Very cool
students and friends of mine, and they've been there for me for a while, and
you trust them with access to your social media.
I do. I trust them both with access to my social media. I do. See, I'm a trusting soul like that.
Oh my gosh, Rob Pincus is here.
Oh,
in the hizzy.
And he came on. Let me see how he came on. Oh, it doesn't say from that. So, yo. He just says yo.
It's got the YouTube icon on it, so it came from YouTube. Like Patrick Collins made a comment from the Facebook.
Right, but it doesn't say which YouTube. That's what I was trying to get.
Yeah. Well, obviously we know.
We got 3 and 3, Charlie. We're like, this is like 3 from Meet the Pressers, 3 from Riding Shotgun, and 3 from PSN Ed.
That's awesome.
It's like election.
I'd have you all beat if we would have been able to put Trigger Pressers Union on here.
Probably. That is a cult. That's that cult there in Pennsylvania.
Oh well,
I'm just here in the YouTube to help the tech.
All right.
It's
well,
YouTube on the World Wide Web. Hey Charlie, do you still have an AOL email address?
Yeah. Ha ha ha. I do.
I think my first
had
email
so
was a Netscape, I think.
oh my God. Mine was I think it was AOL. Um,
AOL.
yeah, right? It was $9.99 a month or something, supposed to be for forever.
Hey,
Um,
remember you dial 10-10-220 to call long distance? Remember that?
I remember.
I remember
the
not
party
having
line.
to I remember not having to dial area codes.
Yeah.
Pincus's mom still has AOL. Here's a fun one. My parents didn't have internet up until I actually built them computers over many years, and they would use old floppy drives and stuff. They didn't have internet up until probably about a year ago. They got it, and then my mom was buying stuff, and they were getting viruses, and they're liking and subscribing to everything. My dad got rid of it and said nope. Now he's got a flip phone.
Oh
Yeah.
my God.
True
God
story.
bless.
He's probably smarter than all of us.
Obviously,
Yeah.
the
Well,
government's
I
not.
grew up in the middle of Pennsylvania, up in the mountains, and even in the 1990s, all I had to dial was 4 numbers to call people in my town.
Yeah.
Oh my
Only
God.
4 numbers.
Only
Wow.
4 numbers. Yeah.
See, I don't
Yeah.
remember that. I remember dialing it without the area code, but other than that,
Yeah.
I don't know,
They only
maybe
dial 4 numbers.
yeah, maybe.
And
I don't recall that.
our number was my birthday. And this is how crazy it is. I never
Go ahead and tell us what
recognized
it
that
is.
until after I left home and
my God.
looked at my number like, wait a minute, that's my birthday. I lived there since I was a kid.
All right.
Talk about situational awareness.
Pincus
Right.
is typing a big thing. I somehow got my hands on a corporate call-in number that allowed employees to be patched through to a long-distance line. I used it in the early 80s to dial BBS that outside my area code. Now we're talking old school BBS. And Dave goes, I miss BBS.
BBS? What's BBS?
Bullet board systems, where it was basically just, it was like a blog, but you can go up and post stuff on there. Kind of like Reddit.
Well, how about this?
New Day Reddit, I guess.
Do you remember you could get a tone generator and put it against the phone and it would dial it?
Yep.
And on the railroad tracks, if you went down and broke into one of those boxes, you could dial out long distance on those railroad phones that were along the railroad tracks.
300 baud. Pincus. Now we're getting 300 baud.
Right.
Zeros and ones. Zeros and ones.
Ding dong ding.
Weston Probst. How do you say that? Probst.
Probst, like Jeff Probst.
Probst.
What are you guys looking at?
Weston. You're not privileged. You don't have access.
Oh,
right.
So the account.
Had I planned this a half hour before I planned it.
Well, there's 3 tiers, and I purchased the center tier, which only gives us two invites. So it's me and Charlie. But I'm actually, if we add Trigger Pressers Union to the live casts, then we'll have to upgrade because it only gives us 3 places that we can stream to. So if I upgrade to the higher tier, then it gives us 8. So then we can actually pick 8 locations to stream to. And actually, I was thinking of this today, Charlie.
Well, we'll make that happen.
And I was thinking exactly. And I was thinking of this, Charlie, and Klint, was maybe the guests we have on the list of guests that we picked to be the co-hosts or the guests, I guess.
I call them our greatest hits.
Greatest. I like that.
I think that's how. So that guy that told you no, I sent him a message. I'm like, hey, Matt and I are trying to do a greatest hits from our shows, and we want you to be part of it. And then he messages you and says he's in.
He's okay. Let's do it. It's good. See, that's why we got to have
right,
this.
Rob.
It's like you have to give him a little slap in the ass or a hug.
Right?
So anyway, I was thinking what we could do to further it more, like they do on Instagram, is actually connect their biggest viewership and stream to their platform too.
That is a very cool idea,
right? Because then it's a collaboration between all of us. If they have a platform, why not?
Yeah, absolutely.
Hey,
we have some friends with some large platforms. That's for sure.
This is true.
I'm trying to work my platform off. I started running again yesterday, and I hurt my ankle. I ran on the treadmill, and my ankle hurts.
Are you talking like the beer shelf that men get?
Yeah, it's getting a little bigger. I'm up to 196, and I'm like, damn it. I was hovering around like 180 for like the past 2 years, and I don't know all the travel and eating out.
I put on a few pounds too, man. I was when I did the NRA videos, with the Pistol Marksmanship Simulator program, I was at
Think of something.
247, something like that. And that was probably my heaviest. Although my wife says I carried it well. I was doing a extreme close quarters class with Pincus.
Yeah.
And we did the final simulation, and he's all over me like a spider monkey. And I just kept thinking,
You and his.
oh my God, I'm going to crap my pants in front of all these people. That's all I could think of. Slow motion time, all of it. And finally we were done. I must have done something right. He says, okay, good. And he stopped. And I thought I was going to have a heart attack. I was so winded.
Mm-hmm.
And in our debrief, I said, well, man, if I couldn't stop someone with a firearm or run away, if I had to get hands on someone, like, I'm really concerned that I would have a heart attack while I was doing it.
You could just roll over them. That'll be fine.
Well, no, I wasn't quite that hefty. But he said, well, just fucking do something about it, man. And I thought, yeah. So I changed my diet, and I got down to, within about 9 months to a year, I got down to 200. And I maintained that weight for quite a while. But the last, probably starting like just around the COVID time, I'm up to like 215, and I'm really having a hard time getting that 15 pounds off. And it's, not enough to like make me completely out of shape, but my pants are tight and I feel like a sausage. And I don't want to buy bigger pants. See, if you buy bigger pants, you just admit defeat.
Yep.
Right, and then you pack a few more pounds on because you got all that extra space.
I actually had to loosen up my belt by a little bit, and that's when I said, nope, forget this. I am definitely going to start running again.
So I've had the dad bod since I was in junior high. So I'm finally excited that being portly is I don't want to say accepted or hot or cool, but it is what it is.
You just reached that time in life where you just don't care.
Yeah, I reached the time in life where everyone else has put on a few pounds. I'm like, hey, I've been doing this for years.
Let me tell you how to do it well.
Right. So here's what I'll tell you how to do it well. So I got a next belt, ratchet belt. I don't know if you guys have had these ratchet belts before, but they're the perfect size every time.
They are.
And I absolutely love it.
I got one from Core, Kore. I really like it. Yeah, I really like it.
I think it's great, man. I got mine about almost a year ago, and it looks great. It's been wonderful. So Trampus is in. Trampus is here. He's as big as beautiful and well marbled.
So I'm learning. He is. I like Trampus. I'm actually going to see Trampus next week, and I'm doing the UTM. He actually is hosting me for the UTM Force on Force Civilian Instructor Certification course down in Jacksonville, Florida. Thank God I'm getting away from the snow. So I figured out how to use it, and I'm putting this ticker across the bottom. I could actually change it from a ticker and just do but stuff like that. Let me see how that works. Let me see. I could just do this, and that would just pop up where y'all from.
There we go.
Tell us in the chat, and then we can keep up on that.
Hey, Charlie.
Yes, sir.
I'll be up in Rhode Island teaching the class in a couple months. We should get together. That's not too far from you.
That is not far. Yeah, we totally should.
Yeah, I'll be in Richmond, Rhode Island.
Very cool. I found something out about Rhode Island a while ago, and it's not something that I've acted upon. But there is Rhode Island is one of these weird shallish may issue states, and I heard there is a town that is giving out non-resident permits.
Really?
Yes. So it's been something I've thought about pursuing, and I guess the thing that gets me is they want they do require live fire, but it doesn't say what they require for live fire. And it says yeah, I know, right? One round of 22.
Hey, I tell you what, if you come to my range, you can shoot one round in a bucket, and I'll charge you $29.95.
What a bargain!
Come to mine, I'll do $29.94.
Oh yeah. Well, I do. We do a Mother's Day special or something.
Nice.
Oh, nice. Yeah. So I don't know. I don't know what they want for live fire. I think they just want a certificate from an NRA class, or probably the basic pistol class. So I don't
Well,
know.
once we're offline, if you want, I can connect you with my guy in Rhode Island, and maybe he can give you some advice.
That might be cool. Yeah, I might have to check that out. I'd like to have the Rhode Island permit just to have the Rhode Island permit. It's not that
Collect
I
them
go.
all.
Yeah, exactly. It's not that I go there often, but I do drive. I drive through Rhode Island occasionally as I head down to Cape Gunworks in Hyannis to teach Utah classes. So sometimes on my way back, I'll take a different route to liven up my life, and I end up going through Rhode Island.
So
Yeah, I've been. Oh,
I
go
re-
ahead, Matt.
I reached out to them. This is probably, geez, a good 10 years ago, maybe 6 or 7. And I reached out to the state because obviously non-resident. And hey, I'm law enforcement looking to get my pistol license in the state. Want to add it to the list that I got so I can tell my students the process. They go, well, your students are never going to get a pistol license if they're not residents, and if there are residents, it's even harder, or it's still hard. And then I was like, okay, well, can I get one? And they're like, no, I don't even apply. The state's attorney general doesn't give it to outside. And I'm like, but I'm law enforcement. They're like, they don't care. I was like, all right. So I just didn't apply in Rhode Island. I think the other one, there's another state over that way, some other commie state, but
Massachusetts.
Yeah, so maybe. Oh, speaking of that, I will be in Massachusetts. I got that date rescheduled for the beginning of April, so I'll send you that date. I'm actually teaching the pepper spray and UTM Force on Force courses up in Maine with Tatiana Whitlock. She's hosting me, and then on my way back down on Monday, I'm going to stop by and in Chelsea there to get my license, my Massachusetts.
Nice.
license.
I always call it Chelsea, where you need a gun.
Well, it's funny. They tell you to leave your gun in your car. And I said, I'm law enforcement. Can I carry my gun into the building? And they're like, no, you need to leave it in your car. You're going to be metal detected when you come in the door. I'm like, okay.
So if you metal detect me and we find a gun, what do you do with it then?
Yeah, right. Well, that's what I said. I said, I really don't want to leave it in the car.
They put it in their car.
Yeah,
It is Chelsea.
with the person. But I said, can I bring it in as a place for me to lock it up if you won't let me have it in the building? And they said, no, you need to leave it in your car. I was like, wow.
See, that's one nice thing about Pennsylvania. You can't carry a gun in a courthouse, but they have to provide lockers. So you come in, you tell them you're armed, and they kind of escort you to the side and they check it and they like give you a key or a ticket or something.
Right.
So I've been going to Pennsylvania for the Rod of Iron Freedom Festivals for the last 3 years, and I always think that I'm going to go early enough to find a county sheriff, I think is what it is.
Yeah, everything's through the county sheriff.
Yeah, and I think I'm going to find a county sheriff, but I never take the time to find it because it's only like $20 or something to get a permit. So I'm like, that might be a nice one to have as well.
That is a government infringement, in my opinion. But we got constitutional carry pushed through the House and the Senate, made it to Wolf's desk, and he vetoed it.
The town of Center County.
Center County. Westmoreland County is another one that's traditionally issued to out of state. So like if you come visit me, I could hit Westmoreland County with a rock. I could drive you down to the courthouse. We could get you squared away.
Maybe I should do that when I'm down there the weekend after next weekend teaching.
Yeah, of course, I can't guarantee that the sheriff will, but he always has in the past. It's been my experience.
Yeah, I know. I've heard some of them have changed since COVID. Some of them won't do it, but there is
one.
Well,
no, it's not. The problem with the whole COVID thing is very nuanced. Most of it's been because of the restrictions of people in the building.
Gotcha.
That's ridiculous. So Patrick chimes in here, says it sucks playing hopscotch with the laws and restrictions, and that is completely true.
Yeah.
There was somebody that just posted. There was somebody that literally just posted. I can't remember who it was, but he posted that his plane got derailed to another city, and they made him take his guns, and then I guess he went to check him in or something.
And then they arrested him.
Well, no, they didn't arrest him because he's law enforcement, but they said if you weren't law enforcement, you would have been arrested. And I responded to that and said I had the same exact situation happen on my way to SHOT Show like 5 years ago in LaGuardia, and because I'm law enforcement, they didn't obviously anything happen with it, but they called Port Authority. They came in, they inspected the guns, got the make, model, caliber, serial number, wrote it all down. I had to show them that each gun was unloaded. I mean, it took me a good half an hour to go through because I was going to SHOT Show and I had like 15 guns with me.
Wow.
The guy's like, "Show me
Yeah,
your
I had
gun."
a
I'm like,
I had a flight change,
"Guns."
and it was going through LaGuardia, and I said nope, and I booked another flight, and I ended up zigzagging the damn country. But you cannot fly through a city where if you grabbed hold of your bag, you're a felon. You know,
It's
and
nuts.
that's just again another ridiculous thing that law-abiding citizens have to do.
Mhm.
But if that's what we have to do so that we don't get victimized by the laws that are in the books in certain jurisdictions. I mean,
Right.
traveling around, I've been going all over the Northeast and Mid-Atlantic, for quite a while now, especially the last, 8 months or so. And yeah, it's hard to keep track. If you're down in Virginia and you're driving up through, say, to Maryland, back into Pennsylvania, then across, like it's really tricky. If you turn the wrong corner, man, all of a sudden, boom, wrong bridge, boom, you're
Yeah,
in New Jersey, boom, you're a felon now.
right.
Yeah.
I
And
might.
the patchwork quilt of laws is like absolutely a horrible thing, and it only affects law-abiding citizens because I bet, just like those criminals that rob a bank in New York where they take the 3 rounds out of their 10-round magazine before they
Yeah,
go in.
yeah.
I,
You're
I
stealing
I'm
my words.
Yeah, well,
That's true.
I venture a guess that they don't stop at the border and
No,
unload their
no,
gun before
of
they.
course not.
Yeah.
Right.
So when I was in Michigan teaching those courses, the Saber and the UTM courses, weekend before last weekend, right after SHOT Show, and on my way to Michigan, because I'm going like the northern Michigan, it wants me to go through Canada, and I'm like, okay, I don't want to go to Canada, so I kept hitting no, I literally, like, I'm heading towards Erie, Pennsylvania, or towards Buffalo, and I'm wanting to go down by Erie, Pennsylvania, and it literally almost got all the way to Erie before it stopped telling me to turn around and go back towards Buffalo to go through Canada. It
It'd
wouldn't
have been quicker if you just cut across the lake. Boom, chin.
Waka waka waka.
probably.
All right. So David here wants to know. This is a pretty cool feature. David here wants to know if you're going to go see Jared from Guns and Gadgets when you're up here in the Commonwealth.
So when I spoke to Jared at the USCCA social at SHOT Show, I mentioned to him that you're going to be hosting me to teach the courses up there, and I'm actually trying to talk to him into coming to the course, and he said he's interested in doing them. So he might actually
Okay.
be a student in the course that you're hosting me for. And
That we're hosting.
Bill Dalpy, he actually already signed up for it.
Oh,
Bill
nice.
Delph, Bill's
That's
cool.
good.
Yeah, Bill
Yeah,
and I went to NRA training counselor school together. We both graduated at Gun for Hire, Anthony's
Yeah,
place.
I certified
Cool.
Jared as a DSF instructor.
Yeah.
He's a good dude.
Nice.
Yeah, that was
Actually,
last year.
he's a very gifted educator, very good teacher,
Nice.
very good
Yeah.
instructor.
All right. So getting back to the other story, Trampus says, Matt, the story you read, the guy didn't even touch his bag. He was called off the flight and questioned.
That's right.
Mm,
Yeah. Yep.
That's,
How'd you do that, Charlie? How'd you
yeah, how did
Imagine.
you do that?
Ah.
how'd you do that?
So if you take your cursor and put
You
it
just do
over
show.
over the comment,
Oh, nice.
Cool, and you see his face too.
I learning. I like it. Yeah, you see his face. His picture's so cool. It's like scary. And then you
It is
meet him, and he's so nice.
just a nice little guy. So
So-
speaking of Trampus, he's got some exciting news that Matt and I are involved with, and Trampus and Swanson Media Group is going to be putting out a new publication called the Armed Lifestyle Magazine. And I don't know, what are you going to be doing for it, Matt?
I know Amy's supposed to be interviewing me regarding less lethal items, as well as the UTM products that I'm teaching the classes for. Amy just took the Saber pepper spray class for me in Michigan, and she's going to be taking the UTM course when I go back out there. I'm teaching again in Michigan, and I'm teaching in Ohio, and again in Indiana. I can't remember what. Oh, and Chicago, Illinois
Yeah,
too.
Amy,
So
I
she's taking one of
certified.
them.
She took my DSF class, or she was on my range when I certified her for DSF, and she sent me a thing about it. I sent in my bio and a whole big thing. So apparently, I'll be also contributing in some fashion at some point in time. Yeah.
Awesome.
Gotta contribute. So speaking of contributing, I came up with an idea this morning, and I didn't get much sleep last night. Christy was having high blood pressure, and we were dealing with that. So we both had a pretty rough night last night. But this morning I was on the local radio, Dave Allen's gun guy. And after that, I was laying on the couch just trying to go back to sleep. And whatever happened, I just had this epiphany, this idea that like there's a lot of us in this industry that have our own show, our own podcast. I mean, Pincus just started his own podcast. You got all these different shows. You've got the big ones on YouTube like Guns and Gadgets, Jared's, and Eric and Chad with Iraqi Vet. But there's also a lot of smaller ones too that are trying to get as big as those guys. And I'm always thinking like, okay, whose show is who? Okay, that person's show is what? I didn't know they had a show. And I'm always finding that I'm stumbling across new shows or trying to remember who has what show. So I bought a domain name this morning, 2ashows.com. And basically just everybody, well, I told Charlie that this morning, but other than that, this is public now. I'm going to make basically a list of all the shows out there, podcast, events, SHOT Show, Great American Show, because they're shows, right? Whether it's YouTube, whether it's a weekly show like John Anderson does, or anything like that. Just going to be logo, link to the show. It's just be basically like a listserv for all of the shows for us in the 2A industry. And that's it. It's not going to be no frills.
We'll have to do it.
Local place for all that stuff to be congregated.
That's a great idea. We'll have to do like music that plays when you're on it. That's annoying, like that car commercial. 2ashows.com, 2ashows.com, 2ashows.com.
Yeah. I know a guy that can make that happen.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
It'll be the 877 cars for kids for the gun community.
or
that's a good idea, dude.
Be pew 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 pew.
Nice.
I like yours better. 1-800-cars.com. Hey, Pierce is on. So Pierce was actually one of the very first. We're calling a master instructor. So far, I haven't gotten the full nod with UTM yet, but Pierce was actually somebody who was helping me with the very first course we did down in Florida, the very first UTM civilian force and force certified instructor course that I did down there back in December 5th. So he was a huge help at that course.
Very cool.
Yeah, that's fun.
That is
good old UTM.
So speaking of that, also, I'll be at Eric and Chad's, or I'll be at Eric's. I'm staying at Eric's on Friday the 18th. I'm driving down on the 17th because I'm teaching in Alma, Georgia, the pepper spray class on the 19th. And then obviously, like I said, on the 20th, I'll be down in Jacksonville with Trampus doing the UTM course again. But on Friday, I'm going to Eric's from Iraq Veteran 8888 on YouTube, and we're going to record. And I pitched to him. I said, hey, what do you want to do? And they're really good at like improv. And Klint, you know this from working with them. I'm thinking like, okay, let's plan. What do we want to do? We want to do this, bring this gun, do this. And they're just like, no, let's just spitball it. I'm like, I don't work that way typically, but they do it phenomenally, right? They just pull it like out of thin air and they make the stuff happen like great. But so I spitballed to him and I go, I want to bring my UTM. Well, I'm going to bring it because I'm teaching down there. But I said, why don't we do a duel? Klint, remember duel? And we're going to do a duel. I don't know if Eric's going to do it or he's going to have Chad do it, but I'm dueling one of them guys with UTM. We're going to get all suited up in our protective gear, 20 paces, 30 paces, whatever we decide. And we're going to see who hits who first.
Hey, if you wanted to be a badass, you could duel the dogs.
I don't know.
They could unleash the hounds.
Them dogs are fierce. Or at least the one is. Danny is the same name as our daughter. Danny actually hit it off really well with the puppy. But yeah, the bigger ones.
Yeah, I walked up and they could smell that I was a cat person.
They could smell I was a cat person.
Yeah. No, I tell you, I really enjoyed working down there with those guys. That was Chad and Eric. They're good people.
Yeah, they for sure.
Yeah,
are.
Really good people, really hospitable.
Yep.
And just
sincere.
I had a really good time. That was a weird time in my life, and I had just done like a bunch of classes back to back in the traveling, and so I was a little bit run down, I guess you could say, when we did those.
Sure.
Like and like you said, no prep time. So it's like, look over there's the camera and go. So I'm standing here like this. And so the first episode we did, I think you and I both were kind of getting into our flow, but we had some pretty good conversations, man. It was fun. I kind of wish they would have recorded that phone call I sent to Joe Manchin after the first show was done. That was pretty cool.
That was funny. Sometimes that's why, like when we record for ours, I like to record right away because some of the times the funny stuff that happens right off the beginning is priceless. So I try to capture that as much as I can. So let's see.
All
We've
right.
got Trampus
We
says
have
we need pepper spray in Jacksonville as well. Yes, we'll do that, Trampus.
Donnie write in and says, "Are you guys aware of the new VAWA Violence Against Women Act? It has a lot of red flag laws. Time to get involved and call your senators and go to Gun Owners of America ASAP. This bill has lots of BS in language." So I have not heard about this, but it's really speaking generally here, it's interesting to me that the folks that want all the red flag laws are also the people that sit here and profess that they want women to have power and women have rights and we even let them vote and drive, but they're the ones that are doing the most to stop women from being able to protect themselves.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of the red flag laws or
Easy there.
Risk protection orders. Well, I'm not a fan of them because they circumvent due process, right?
Absolutely.
You got somebody. I actually had breakfast with a sheriff a while ago, and he said that there was somebody that they had a red flag on. I can't remember the story exactly, but there was something that was going on there, and the guy went off his rocker, but they went there to get the guns. They got the guns, and they wouldn't give the guns back to the guy. And I'm like, so the guy did something illegal, and you went and got his guns.
But you didn't do anything with him.
Well, and then the whole red flag thing, I'm like, right, you don't do anything with him. We'll lock him up, and then he gets back out, and he can still commit crimes with other guns.
Right.
Or other
yeah,
weapons.
if it was truly about public safety and about protecting people,
right.
Let's just for a moment just assume that person is actually a risk, which very well could be, but oftentimes you can see how the system can be, abused, and maybe someone just doesn't like that person or their competitors or they don't like their politics. So they make these accusations, but let's just for a moment assume that person is a risk. Then why would you just take his guns and then let him back into society?
Right.
Or if you truly wanted to help this person, why would you not give them care and give them help instead of just taking their guns and sending them back into society? So obviously it's all about the guns.
For sure.
It's a gun grab.
Yep.
Yeah, it really is.
And that's kind of what I'm coming to the conclusion with a lot of these politicians and stuff. I was, in the beginning when I started getting into meeting with politicians, I was trying to give them the benefit of the doubt. But now I'm just realizing that, yes, some of it might be emotion, but eventually I think the stuff that they're pushing forward, they don't want even good citizens armed, because that means good citizens can revolt against them if they don't agree with what they're pushing. And I think
that's not entirely true. There certainly are. At least I can speak to representatives in Pennsylvania. We have a great deal of patriots in the legislature in Pennsylvania. Yeah. Certainly there are tyrants and there are definitely some misled folks. But I think when we look at the federal government and we look at the regimes that seem to control everything, like they definitely are pushing the buttons and they're making some really nasty stuff at least come to light. But we got to thank guys like Joe Manchin and some of the other Democrats that have stepped up to help balance that power. Now, I want to be clear. You're not a patriot just because you're a Republican. But unfortunately, most of the patriots we see today are just Republicans, right? Like liberty shouldn't be about parties. And guys like Joe Manchin, and I keep saying his name because we've been able to head off a whole lot of nasty stuff at the federal level because he has stood up and said, you know what, man? This isn't right. Or he realized that if he voted for these things coming from West Virginia, he would never get reelected. And I think that's okay too. That's because he is representing his electorate and he's doing what the will of his people are. And that's what a lot of the tyrant ones aren't doing.
Right. That's like what their job is. They're supposed to work for us.
Well, absolutely. But unfortunately, when they get that power, that immunity, they become part of the elected class. Right. Not all of them, but some of them. And then, they don't serve the people. They serve one another because it's now a new class. It's the elected class, man.
Well, you look at Nancy Pelosi and all these politicians that have been in, even Joe Biden has been in politics for almost their entire adult career. That's just proof there that, it was never meant to be a full-time job. It was meant to be go in, do your civic duty, like jury duty, and get the hell out of there and let somebody else, fresh ideas, fresh blood get in there. Not make a career out of it, because then once you do, it's kind of like, well, I don't want to give this up. I don't want to have to go look for a job. Who would want to do that?
Yeah,
Right.
unfortunately, a full-time legislature, they have to justify their existence. So they, even when they're not tyrannical, sometimes there's a lot of just like, why are you doing this? We're making laws to make laws to justify our existence because we're here all the time. And then add in the possibility for corruption with different interest groups pushing their agendas, and then the money comes in. How can someone like Joe Biden, who's been a public servant since he was a kid almost, have as much money as he has?
Yeah, right.
Like, where did that money come from?
Well, you look at, our former disgraced governor here in New York State, right? Andrew Cuomo. How do you get that? Well, a book deal. And then of all the corruption with the book deal, right? How did he do that? Did he use his slush fund of money from running for politics to help pay for the write the book and stuff? There's some of that kind of coming to light. I mean, it's corruption left and right. I wouldn't want to be in politics just for that, because for me, I'm just entrepreneur, always trying to think of ways to make money and do it legally, morally, and ethically. But when you get into politics, somebody comes up and says, well, hey, you put this logo on your shirt and I'll give you $5,000. And I'm like, okay, well, if you're in politics, you can do that. They just bought you, right? You can't do that. And I'm like, for me, I'd have to hire somebody just to make sure I stay out of legal trouble if I got into politics.
Yeah. Now you owe them a favor.
All right. What does Pierce say?
Someday I may ask you a favor, and that day may never come.
Well, I say that with security guards when I do security guard training. Is somebody just so much as buys you a coffee? No, give them money. Don't let them buy you the coffee, because they could come back and say, hey, I bought you a coffee every week for the past year. You owe me this. Don't tell anybody I stole this laptop or whatever.
So Pierce, he says, love to see the politicians' bank accounts pre-COVID compared to post-COVID. Yeah, that's pretty interesting. Right. I tell you what, like, if in 2019, if we both or all three of us would have bought stock in Pfizer and Zoom.
Yeah. I thought that with Zoom,
we'd be rich.
Well, I mean, we use
We'd
Zoom.
be doing this on Zoom.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right. We did the show on Zoom before, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to go to online. I was so focused on trying to make money to pay my bills because we shut down the Airbnb, we shut down all my training. So I'm like, okay, online training and farm. I doubled my beehives, I doubled my chickens, right? I wasn't even thinking like invest in the stock market. I was just thinking survive. And then after the aftermath, I'm thinking, shit, I missed the boat.
Right.
Zoom and all these other companies.
Yeah, I have to say, before the invasion in Iraq, I had a friend of mine out in California who was an armorer. He said, invest in Kimberly-Clark. The company that makes like medical supplies and stuff.
Yeah.
He says, invest in Kimberly-Clark. And then the invasion hit, and then like for decades we're at war, and Kimberly-Clark stock was pretty good, right? Wow. So he must have had a tip off. Maybe Nancy Pelosi told him something in a back room or something. I don't know.
Hey, now be careful. You might be another, what's her name there?
Nancy Pelosi was a good looking woman in her day.
Yeah, but her day was 70 years ago.
I used to tease. I dear friend of mine, like when you even say Nancy Pelosi, his face turns red and his head wants to explode. We both lived out in California at the time. So just to mess with him, he'd say, anytime he'd say Nancy Pelosi, I'd say, I'd lay her down in a bed of roses. And he'd say, you would not, that's all.
One of my good friends, he's very conservative. His dad's very conservative. His dad was in the hospital when Nancy became the Speaker of the House. So he went in and told his dad, he's like, hey, Nancy was sworn in. And he said, sworn in or sworn at?
Yeah, California politicians, man. And you wonder, people say, how do they vote these people back in? It's because they don't pay attention, and it's name brand. See, you out there, it's like you're recognized by the big name. So you want to get a big name in your movie, or I did a movie with this big name, and they established themselves, and so they vote for the person that they recognize, and that's how they get in. I mean, like, Schwarzenegger. I really supported Schwarzenegger when we were trying to overturn Gray Davis and get him ousted, who was the governor at the time. But that was a popularity contest. Although I think Schwarzenegger did a pretty decent job, for what he had to work with at the time. Although he could never say San Luis Obispo. was a town in California. He'd say San Obispo. Was his accent.
I don't think I could say it.
I'll be back. I'll be back.
Yeah, a matter of fact, I was doing sound every Christmas at the VA. We would do a big giant show for all the veterans, and they'd have free turkey and food. They had a big, like, giant circus tent. They'd have about 3,000 people there. And every year there'd be bands that would play, and usually Jim Belushi would come play, and occasionally Dan Aykroyd would just show up and they'd do a Blues Brothers routine and stuff. Nice. So the one year that we were doing it, it was when Schwarzenegger was the governor, or one of the years we were doing it. And he was supposed to come that day. So they moved my mix location to the side. You know, if you're front of house mixer, you want to sit in the middle so you can hear everything, right? Well, they moved my mix location to the side because they wanted to leave it open because they thought all the extra security and stuff, there was a reason for it. So I'm off to the side. Well, unbeknownst to me, the mayor of Los Angeles, Antonio Villaraigosa at the time, was the mayor. He spoke at the Democrat thing, like I think for Obama a couple years ago. So he came in, and I'm over on the side trying to mix, but I would run over and listen in the middle of the room, then run back and tweak something. And I'd run back out and I'd listen, and I'd run back and turn something up. Oh my gosh. And I came out to the middle, and one of the kick drum or one of the floor toms started to feed back. So you're getting start to come up. If you've ever heard a PA system feedback, that's like a bad thing. I turn and I body check Antonio Villaraigosa, and I knocked him back about 4 feet. And his security guys came on me like a bunch of spider monkeys. And I was like completely oblivious because all I cared about was the fact that my PA was starting to feed back. And I turned and I said, I'm the sound man, and that PA's feeding back. Get the fuck out of my way. And they let go of me, and I ran over. So I thought that was pretty interesting. Looking back on that, that could have gone bad a whole other, a few other ways.
You broke their OODA loop.
Yeah, totally. Well, broke mine. I was paying no attention, dude. I was so focused on the fact that my PA was going to feedback, but it was interesting. I almost knocked him to the ground.
It could have been one of those moments where they stop you, they're hanging you up, it feeds back. Everyone's like, "Oh my God, where's the sound guy?" And you're like, "Right here. I'm getting patted down by these dudes."
So yeah, I mean, looking back on it, it must have seemed like when Jim Carrey went to dropped the bag off in the airplanes in the parking lot on Dumb and Dumber, or the airplane left, and he says, "It's okay, I'm the limo driver." Like, I'm the sound man. Like, let me go.
Right.
It worked. That's LA, man.
That's
sound man carries some weight.
As long as it works, man.
What's this? What does Eric say here? Was that Vord?
I'm going to say vote red. Might be what he wanted to say.
Vor red. So Dave says there's probably a 2-minute delay. It was good for us to know. We got our peeps here monitoring us and giving us feedback. So Dave, I'm saying right now, I'm texting Dave. I am talking and sending message same time now. So let's see if he can match that up and actually figure out if there is a 2-minute delay. Says it sounds good though, and he's watching it via YouTube. So he's on YouTube. It looks like this is very good. Cool. I like this platform. I'm wondering,
so Charlie. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, Matt. That's right. No, I was just bullshitting. Go ahead.
I was going to ask Charlie, who are your next rides with? Do you have coming up? Do you have anything scheduled?
So I have the shows that I need to edit. I just put out a show with John Crump yesterday. I've got a show with Kara Ann O'Clair, who is the DC Project gal here in Massachusetts. I've got a show with Toby Leary from Cape Gun Works here in Massachusetts.
Toby's good people.
He is a good guy.
I certified Toby as a training counselor.
Oh, very cool. Yeah, very
cool. Toby is an excellent, gifted educator. Very cool.
So I don't know if he's been doing radio with one of the talk shows in Boston. And they've been advertising and doing some remotes down at Cape Gun Works in Hyannis. And
he does have a smooth, velvety voice.
He does. So I got that show with him. There's one other show that I have Val Evans. She is a gal from Virginia. Stephen Williford introduced her to me, and I interviewed her in near Williamsburg, Virginia, a few months ago. She had someone break into her house,
Oh,
and she grabbed her husband's gun, and or maybe it was her gun, I forget, but grabbed a gun and shot the guy twice.
jeez.
And he lived, but now he pees and poops in a bag and a bottle. She
Good for
hit him
him.
right. Yeah, she hit him right in the boys. One of the shots was right in the groinal area, and they let him out because the technicality was that she didn't know why he was breaking in, and he broke in because he was on drugs and thought he was in someone else's house, and couldn't get in, so he came in through a window.
But she wasn't charged, was she?
No, she wasn't charged, but they didn't charge him for anything either.
Do you
And then
know
I
if
have
she
another.
got sued civilly?
I don't think she did.
Good.
I don't think she did.
Good.
And then I did a show with the guys from the Gun Experiment podcast who are in the Newburgh, New York area, and it was kind of cool because these guys are podcasters, and they actually they showed their face on my show, which I thought was pretty cool.
Ooh.
Ooh, like first time, like they came out of the closet, or
They're coming,
Is
came
it
out
like
of
an unveiling?
they're coming out.
That's a good
What
sign.
what I think we're going to do to promote the show is, we took some selfies and put pictures of me with them with, like the smiley face emoji over their face.
Nice.
Yeah, so
That's-
that's what I've got. I'm trying to plan a trip in a couple weeks down to Virginia and Maryland. I got a couple people I've reached out to, and trying to make things happen down there.
Well, PM me. Let me know what your schedule is because I'm in Virginia and Maryland a lot these days. Maybe we could meet
Oh,
up for
very
dinner or
cool.
something.
Yeah,
I'm
that would be
actually
awesome.
I'm going down to Williamsburg tomorrow. Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I'm teaching. I'm
Nice.
doing my fun gun, doing the Muzz stuff. I'm doing the
Nice.
muzzleloading instructor down there at Colonial Williamsburg. I train the guys that run the musket range.
Oh my gosh, that's cool.
I do that a couple times a year. Yeah, pretty cool place. Nice people. They got a really nice range. They do this thing at the musket range where they charge like $90 and you come out for a period of time and you get to shoot the muskets, smoothbore muskets. Of course, they're all period correct, and
Yeah,
there are guys there to teach the history, and they dress up, and it's pretty cool experience.
that is
But
cool.
yeah, it's a neat place.
All right, what does William say here? It says, "What are your thoughts on the warrior versus guardian mindset of policing? Policing? Yeah, policing thoughts would be very much appreciated."
Warrior versus guardian mindset. I think the thought process on this might be, old school. You were more of a guardian, and now cops are acting like warriors and being more aggressive. You want to clarify, Bill? So Bill and I went to the academy together way back in the day, and geez, many years ago. So Bill's been around for a while. We'll see what he says. See if he kind of
Yeah,
clarify
that would be good
anymore.
when to get clarification on.
So Klint, who do we have coming up? What for Meet the Pressers? What do you have to edit? You know them off the top of your head, or you want me to read them off?
Read them off.
All
We
right.
got a really cool episode about National Train a Teacher Day coming up.
We do. Before
We
that,
got some pretty impressive women on that one as well.
for sure. So we've got Cass McGuire.
Yep.
We've got Derek LeBlanc was my guest co-host for that one, and we interviewed Cass. We talked
Cool.
about getting banned on social media and such. I did a bunch of Michael Bain. Michael and I just shot the shit for like an hour, and we're gonna do
Michael Bain. You just kind of like
let him
ask
talk.
him a question,
And he goes, it's amazing. Yeah. Like it's yeah. So he was telling me, he was talking about how he's making risotto and all this. It was great. But
yeah, it's like, and it always ends up in a story about like he was with somebody buying panda meat in the 1970s,
Right.
like hunting
right.
boars. I don't know. It's like, and then like watching people do drugs at a Rolling Stones concert or something.
So we're gonna do Bain it. We're gonna call them Bainisms, and we're gonna actually just take that hour and snip it up and splice it and spread Michael Bain out all over top of the
That's cool.
other ones.
I got to say, I met him at SHOT Show in the media room this year,
Yep.
and the more this, I don't want to sound like I'm full of myself, but the more we see each other, the more, the higher we work our social credit up or whatever,
Yeah.
the more we see people, you know what I mean? And it seems it's more about connecting with people and talking and finding out what they're up to and helping them out than it is about getting a selfie with them. But I made damn sure I got a selfie with Michael Bain.
Yes, of
you
course.
know,
For
I'm
sure.
like,
Yeah,
oh,
I was pretty honored. We had him on the show. Actually, he was one of the first guys to come on.
Yep.
Actually, he was maybe the first guy to come on the show that we interviewed
After Pincus.
out after Rob, and he came on the show another time. And of course, when Michael has time, I think what were we on? We were on with him for like 3 hours or something. So there was only a small portion that actually came in the show. And at the USCCA Expo, I was walking down the hall, and he grabbed me. He says, "Hey, Klint," and he remembered. I really felt honored by that. And we sat in bullshit in the hallway there for quite a while. It was a
That's
very
cool.
cool dude. Very cool dude.
Yeah, I always tell people, like, I spoke at the Ambassador Academy that Diana Muller does. I spoke at that last year, and I was telling them, two things you can kind of really tell if you've made an impression on somebody. One is if they can know your name without looking at a name badge, like just by facial recognition. And then two, if you got their cell number. Those are the two kind of litmus tests in my book, where
You got their digits.
if I got their
Right.
cell number and they can remember my face, my name and my face together, then I made an impression enough for them to at least not think I'm just somebody out there that's a nobody in that sense. So that was one of my parting bits of wisdom to them.
You've never been a nobody, Matt.
No, come on. We're all here on
you're-
this earth to make relationships and make the earth better before we go home to see our maker. So
Yeah.
all right, so who else we got? We
Beautiful.
got women of the industry. So Klint, tell us what women we had and how that went.
Let's see. Robin Sandoval was on. Diana Muller. And you say the women we've had. That doesn't sound good. Like, I wish we could rewind and cut that and do it again.
The women of that episode that were on our show with us to talk about.
I think we all got that. How long you been on the road, Klint?
Oh, it's been a while. It's been a long day.
Rewind.
You can tell that my voice is hoarse. I've been teaching 3 days on an indoor range. We were ahead of where the booths are in the firing line. So we were like right where the air handling system motors are.
Yeah.
And it was loud, and you can't have a class anymore without having, combat vets that are in it that can't hear, right? Because most combat vets can't hear. And so I had guys with hearing issues in a big open vacuous concrete indoor range with the blower system on top. So I really had to not just project, but yell to make sure that everyone could hear me. So I'm a little hoarse, reasonably burnt out right now. So you'll have to excuse my brain fog.
It's quite all right.
Yeah.
So the women who have been on the show.
Yeah. So Robin Sandoval, Michelle Camp from
Michelle Camp from the Armed Women of America.
Yes, the Armed Women of America, which used to be the Well Armed Women.
Formerly the Well Armed Women Shooting Chapters.
Yep. And then Diana Muller. And then we also talked about National Train a Teacher Day. So that'll be coming out next after the Cass episode. Then we've got Brian Eastridge, Brian McLaughlin, Julie Golob, Gavin Glassnap. Yep, Glassnap from USCCA, Neil Widener from ASP, Active Self-Protection, and then Bill Brizard from NSSF and SHOT Show. So it was a good lineup. And my guest co-hosts on that were Sarah Joy Elbrick, as well as I'm stumbling here, as well as Jacob Paulson from concealcarry.com. So those are the two.
Cool.
And then
all
Klint,
good people.
And Klint for the women of the industry episode.
Yeah.
Cool.
Very cool.
Yeah, so it'd be some good So it's like 7 episodes we got coming out that we'll be rolling out as quickly as Klint can knock them out and get them out.
Yeah, I'll be able to catch up a little bit next week.
Awesome. And then so for this, what we're doing here with these live things, we've got you want to mention a couple of them, or do like 3 and I'll do 3?
Yeah, so we have we reached out to our greatest hits, and we have the people I've reached out to were Stephen Williford, Beth Alcazar, Ashley Hlebinsky, and Kevin Dixie. And you are going to be bringing who?
So I've got Joe Teti from Dual Survival, Did you say Rick Ector?
Oh, I forgot about Rick.
Yep. So we got Rick coming on. Beth Alcazar, I think you said Beth. Kevin Dixie. Yep. And then I've got feelers out. Well, we were gonna have Max Martini from the unit and 13 Hours. He played Oz on 13 Hours. Oh, and ladies out there, he was on 50 Shades of Grey too. But he's actually got a movie that he's going into production for. He's directing, and so he's going to be tied up until May. But he said he'd definitely like to come on in May. So we're going to have him come back in May, and then I've got feeler out with Lieutenant Colonel Alan West. So hopefully I can hear back from him. And that's
here. How about I get Rob on? Well, here I'll ask Rob. Will you come on the new show
format or whatever you want to call it?
No, actually, that didn't text right. Come on.
See, usually it's voice to text. Yeah. You come on my.
I said, come on the new show. Absolutely.
So this is what Bill had replied with. Takes problem-solving approach, focus on community building.
I like how we're all reading this, but none of it out loud.
Yeah, well, I figured the guests can read it out loud because we're putting it on the screen, right?
Oh, the people can.
Visitors, viewers.
Hey, can the people on the World Wide Web watching us on the Facebook, can they read the text down there?
I think so.
They can read it on the screen, but not in the chat window, right?
Correct.
Yeah. Klint.
Well, to answer William's question, at least as far as I'm concerned, this is a slippery slope.
Yeah.
I've always been very pro law enforcement in like keeping the peace, but definitely, coming from Pennsylvania to Los Angeles and back to Pennsylvania, you can see how policing has been looked at very differently in both places.
Right.
And, when the police is taking on a militaristic role, I think that's a very, very slippery slope. Very slippery slope.
Yeah, and we see that with SWAT teams. We're seeing that with CERT teams, with the full auto that they're getting, and I agree that that's what our military is for. But the military can't be on the
homeland. The military is not for
right.
Here, local.
Yeah. And I think that's part of the reason why law enforcement is moved in that direction with some of those more militaristic tools and weapons to be able to stop homegrown terrorism and such. It is a very slippery slope.
Yeah, well, and homegrown terrorism too. Like if you look at where that militaristic approach has been utilized, when you look at things like going back to Waco and like it's a slippery slope. Really, really. Talking about, say, for instance, like with the Patriot Act and what that has done. Yep. Has there been good from the Patriot Act? Has that stopped like terroristic things from happening? I know enough guys that are in law enforcement that, yes, there has been some good from that, but has that stripped or limited the rights and liberties of law-abiding citizens without due process? Yes. And does it have the potential to do even much worse in the hands of an even more tyrannical government? Yes. And so is it right that it should be there? Should we strip away the checks and balances and the due process? This kind of plays right into the red flag law
and background checks. Too. Background checks. When you're saying all that, I'm thinking background checks. Because have background checks stop some people, and given the ability for FFLs to not give a gun to somebody who might not be probably all in the right mindset? Yes, right. But
John Wayne Gacy would have passed every background check and everything.
Doesn't stop everybody.
They found the bodies under his house, right?
Right. So it doesn't stop everybody, and it actually does impede good legal law-abiding citizens, good prudent people, from getting guns to defend themselves against bad people. And we're seeing that probably more than the alternate, the other side, the other way. Cool. Well, we've gone an hour, guys. That went by fast.
We need to wrap it up.
Yeah. I'm going to spend time with the family before Danny goes to bed.
Cool.
So and
my best to the family.
Same. I'll see you in a couple of weeks, right? So the last thing David said, Klint, you need students to wear Ear Pro with digital amplification so you can whisper and they can hear you breathe.
No, That I appreciate that, but David, you're not quite understanding the acoustical nightmare that this particular building. It was really bad. As a matter of fact, the acoustics were so bad. Plus, there was absolutely no soundproofing in the roof, so it was just echo. It was like an echo chamber, and with that combined with the sound of the air handling system, I didn't even throw in additional commands. Sometimes like I'm doing a stroll where they'll have a shooting command of like up or a number. And then sometimes you'll throw in spell your name backwards or count, recite your telephone number so you can kind of distract your mind. And then you throw them a shooting command. I wasn't even game to do that because by the time my voice made it to them, it was like garble, garble, garble. It was really difficult. It was a rough room. Tough room.
Gents, I hate to do this, but I've got a bust right now.
No problem.
Thank you guys.
You bet.
I can't wait to do it again.
Likewise.
All right.
Thanks.
Stay safe, guys.
Flush twice.
Thanks,
You got a bust.
Thanks everybody for hanging with us. We'll see you again in 2 weeks when we do the next one.
All right. Take care, fellas.